doesn't know
Anything.
our other place must add another.
Oh, boy, they're awesome.
We're not live. are we?
I just went live,
Okay,
so.
no, I'll stop.
So you gonna start your meeting?
All right, is it just the four of us?
Yeah, that's all it is.
Okay, let's all by order. Who takes notes? I take notes.
No, they do.
Oh, they do, okay. Approval of the DP November 28th meeting minutes.
Is any public comment?
Oh, is there? It's not. That's all I got to do. Any public comments? Anybody?
Well, let's see.
Probably not. All right, public comments, approval of meetings, right, number one, approval of the DPW meeting from November 28th.
I make the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Approved. I may run through that real quick. All right, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, we got a few things going on. The biggest one. If you look in front of you, got a page, it's a sludge removal cost estimate on the top. We've been doing some workups with C2AE, the big ugly numbers on the right. Is what's gonna cost to have our ponds dredged.
What?
So,
How big are the ponds? I didn't think they were that big.
Lagoon 1 is 18.3 acres and the other two are 6.5 acres.
Oh, I see them. How deep are they? Hold that 5 feet, only 5 feet deep?
Do we anticipate this?
Yes, we've done it in the past. We kind of had an idea, but the numbers were way bigger than they were the last time we did it.
Is this just the ELA or is that one company that we got a quote from or?
This is what C2AE had in talking to people. Nothing's gone out to bid. This is just a
Okay.
general information of what we're looking at price wise to do these.
Oh, it costs per year. So if we waited 7 years, it'd be 1.2 million.
Correct. But this we're going to do some more sludge judging, it might not have to be, we might be able to adjust the numbers a little bit as far as when we do it.
Okay.
But what we really need to think about is a possible increase. We haven't increased the sewer quarterly
Oh, okay.
in years.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been years.
she's gotta be 20 years at least.
Yeah. And so we need to get some serious thought into increasing, just because now we know what the numbers look like.
Let me understand. So this is Lagoon 1. And then that's year 1, 2, 3 out of the 7. And then Lagoon 2 and then Lagoon 3. So really to get the overall, you'd have to add numbers together.
And what right now with us, and the reason this came up is because now we're adding that ferric chloride to it. The solids are dropping out more. So cell 3 is going to fill up faster because we're dropping the solids out before water is discharged. So that's truly the one that we're thinking is going to need to be cleaned first. We're going to be doing sludge judging in the spring to know exactly for sure which one's the fullest, but we're looking at 3. Plus we do, we run in series and parallels depending on the seasons, so we don't overload one pond as opposed to the others. So there are things that we're doing to kind of offset this a little bit. But
Is this a drag line or is this a?
this is they pump it out and permit it and land apply it. And
Oh.
we did this when Gary was here, so we went through this once, probably 15, 16 years ago
Okay.
on cell 2.
Now when you pull out the sludge, is it contaminated? Do you have to do like hazmat and protection of that, or is it just mud?
It is hazmat until it's tested.
Okay.
They'll test it, they'll tell us that they call it sludge, but and at that point, once they get the okay to land apply it, it's nothing different than they're pulling out of their cow barns.
Right. What do we do with it when we're done?
The last time it was land applied. It was, there's a group of farmers that are in board with this, that.
Pick and use them.
Mhm.
That's what I was wondering if they will use that.
And I'm guessing this might be a Paula question, but if we did look at sewer increase, because it hasn't been done for years and years and years, like any idea of we raised it $5, how much money?
You know,
Those
we
are things
really,
we'd have to figure.
we just sat down with this last
Okay.
week, so we haven't. I mean, is Paula, you on?
Your name's there.
Are you guys talking to me out there?
We're trying. Can you come and join us for a second?
I can, yep, just a second. I was talking to Rebecca. I'll be
I'm
right there.
sorry.
Yep.
Have a wonderful night.
All right, you too.
Because I'm gonna need her here in a second anyhow when we get to the GLS stuff, so.
So I guess is more of the cost in the extraction of it? Or is it in the protection of the tests that we have to do?
It's, the cost is in the companies that do it. There's only
Are
a
you looking
handful of
for
companies that do
grant
this.
stuff?
We're gonna be grant stuff and sewer stuff.
All right, I just, my thought is. If it's drag line, why doesn't the city just buy a drag line and not have to pay all this stuff?
There, last time they took bulldozers in there, pushed it up, sucked it out
After they
into a
drained it
truck,
out.
you know,
Yeah, more intense than what I thought.
Those are
Are
huge
you talking,
numbers.
oh, yeah, I know.
we're talking about cleaning up.
Right, and so the other piece is that once that stuff comes out of there, there's only certain ways to dispose of it.
Right.
So that's the expensive part, is hauling it and getting rid of it and,
Mhm. Okay,
but these numbers, I mean, we would bid it out. But these numbers are astronomically
They're-
bigger than we ever anticipated.
And that's what we was talking about, maybe thinking about an increase and then we was talking
I swear,
about.
it's gonna be 20
It's
years
been a
since-
long time.
Well, and that was one of the things I brought up to C2AE was that, you know, we might need to start looking at. You know, an increase that would be specific for cleaning. So whatever that increase is, wouldn't go to operations, it wouldn't go to
Right.
wages or supplies, it would go to lagoon cleaning or infrastructure upgrades or whatever. But we do have money in that fund. We don't have this kind of money in that fund. And I mean, there are low interest loans through like Eagle and some of those things. And I mean, there's grants out there probably for some of this work and we would probably qualify, but unfortunately, we just fixed our problem, so maybe we won't qualify. But when you have issues, then you move up on the list for funding. So if you're not taking care of your stuff,
You get
you
more.
can fund it.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good way to reward
Yeah.
people for
It
not doing it.
is, It honestly, like, you know, if you see like a city that gets water. A lot of times they had a water, you know, they had a bad test, so like everybody here had wells. And people are like, well, I can't believe we don't have city water, well. It would cost us a ton of money to get city water, and the only way we're gonna get that is if we start having issues. And we're just not gonna get funded for it. Now, when they split the sewer and the storm, everybody kind of got money because there were problems everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And so there's no money for storm repairs, but you know, we did get that $500,000, that $1 million grant that helped with a lot.
Right.
But there might be money out there to help do this, but
I'm assuming other cities are staring at these numbers too.
oh, I'm sure. But it's a big number and honestly, we have the. Right after I got here, I mean, when I arrived, the sewer funds was in a negative situation. We were underfunded and there was no money to do anything. Well, now we have, you know, $500,000 in the bank and we're doing fine,
Mhm.
but you're staring at millions and millions of dollars in repairs.
Right.
So I think we need to be on a regular schedule for increasing sewer rates. And it's not a popular situation. So I'm just saying that said, I think that, you know, we don't have to go and just double it or whatever, but I think that if we were on a more regular, I mean, everybody raises their rates, right? A little bit here and there for operations and, but when you start looking at, depreciation and things like that of, you know, our infrastructure, if we had to rebuild one of the lift stations, you know, probably a lot more than it costs when we built it. You know, we're looking at generators, it's gonna be, you know, $120,000 to upgrade our generators. And last time we did our pumps, it was quite expensive, and we've actually made it work, which is good. But then when you do increase wages, increase that stuff, people get uptight, and understandably, they're all in the same situation. They don't want any more costs either, but I do think that is something that we need to look at.
Right.
Okay.
Do you know roughly how many, like, I know it's by household, do you know how many pay the suit?
We have,
whatever?
this, we called RUs, which is
Okay.
residential equivalent units, it's $75 a unit,
Mhm.
and we have four or 500 on the, like, just regular resident, you know, we have businesses that get a little extra, you know, and then the school pays 1.5 for being hooked up because they're outside the city, so. But yeah, I mean, I think at one point, we thought we were gonna get some more houses, and then, you know, we haven't, you know, I mean, building, we're not really having any right now. We did really well for a while, but still at $75, it doesn't add a lot. But we just added on those apartments over on Doyle Road, and I mean, I charged him $20,000 to hook up. And now he's got to pay $75 a unit on each of those apartments in there. So those things are gonna help as we get some, you know, more density on our system. But, and we have lots of capacity. We have lots of room to grow.
Okay.
So, building houses and stuff would be good, but I don't think it's gonna solve the problem.
Okay.
And I told Davis, we have to, you know, we have to start this conversation so that people know this is coming.
Yeah.
Whether it's 5 years or 10 years, I mean, people need to be preparing for it. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, we're trying to push to go more proactive than reactive.
Yeah.
And
But you see what happens if we wait, but of course, these are all guesses, you
Right.
know, but if you wait 5 years, look what happens to the price, you know?
So the chemicals that we're adding now, what is that? That's changing the pH level? The,
Ferric,
Yeah.
no, that's dropping the phosphorus level.
oh, it drops, okay. Have
And
we,
that
have we
process
looked?
costs us a lot of money to figure out that problem, a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. What about those chemicals that, and I could be way out in the wrong field, but that would, you can put in ponds that will eat them up down.
We've been putting them in there.
Oh, yeah,
for
okay.
5 years?
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't do anything?
I can't say that it's really increased a lot, but it hasn't decreased any. So
It hasn't stopped us from needing this.
Gotcha.
And so when we're spending $30,000 a year putting that in there.
Okay.
We think it's time to stop it.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna clean all that out. So we're putting those chemicals in there
Or not?
Just let it back out.
to take it out.
And we have
And-
canceled that.
Good,
And
okay.
so we, you know, we talked to, I'm like, if we're gonna even do any cleaning in the next year or two, this doesn't make sense to me. We could save that $30,000 a year and have, you know,
Towards us.
$100,000 towards this if we,
Right.
you know, stop putting it in there. So,
So,
and the engineers agree with us, so.
I mean, because I know I tried that stuff at the course and it did absolutely nothing, and I called the company up and I just kind of said, you gave me a bunch of junk and it cost me this much money, and what are you gonna do about it?
What were you measuring?
We were measuring, it was just the depth, basically the volume of the pond, and we overdid it and it still didn't do it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't really think that's.
And our engineers, I've asked them, like, and so the problem is the guys that are selling you the snake oil, if you want to call it that. I mean,
It is.
I'm just saying, they're selling you this stuff. They're telling you your numbers, right?
Right.
So I want the engineers to tell me, is it really helping? But they can't.
Right.
They can tell me they don't seem like they're getting exponentially worse, but we talked about doing a measurement. Because we did a measurement not that long ago, and
Right.
seeing,
And we're gonna do one in the spring.
yeah, seeing where the sludge is at, so if it really, because it's not reducing the sludge.
Okay. Right.
But we don't know if it's growing any faster than it would have without it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what you're saying.
And
And
when-
so, I mean, I can't give you a definitive answer that that's a great idea.
And when this all started, we was under the understanding that this was gonna treat and reduce the sludge. Well, that guy is not even with the company anymore, so.
What do you think the next steps? Investigating, obviously raising the sewer rate, but any,
Well, I think
I
that,
think the biggest thing, sorry.
no,
I
you
think
go
the
ahead.
biggest thing for us is gonna be when we do the spring judge after we do our discharge. Then we'll be able to tell what our increase has been from fall to spring.
Right.
Because when we're adding that ferric is when the solids are gonna start dropping out, so we'll be able to measure how fast it's gonna fill in.
Yeah. I think that the engineers, I mean, I'm not the expert. I can only tell you the financial end of it and what makes sense and doesn't make sense as far as those sludge things go, but the engineers, you know, I think that they're gonna recommend that we clean the, which one was it? The
Three,
number 3
that's when
first.
it's the ferric's
Right.
going directly into.
And then, because that's when we're discharging out of, and we just recently had that problem with the DEQ, whoever it is, telling us, you know, they changed our permit levels. And so we don't see that getting any better.
Right.
And it's not just us, they're changing everybody's, you know, the area, the range you have to be in to be able to discharge.
Mhm.
So that's the pond that is the cleanest, and that's the pond that's having the trouble, right? Because that, when the stuff gets there, that's just before it goes to the river, so it's clean, but the other 2 ponds probably have the same issues. And so as those drain into the big pond that drains out, we're bringing the issues, you know, so some of the things we're trying to catch as they come in, but if there's sludge in there that has stuff in it that's, you know, problematic, then that's just gonna keep being a problem. And the sludge is never gonna not be a problem. Every lagoon is gonna need to be cleaned, and that's, you know, and we did do that.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. We did that on cell 2. It had to have been 15 years ago. Seems like we just did it, but I'm sure it was like 15 years ago.
I remember doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, Gary was here.
so.
It was
But, I
before,
mean,
it was
maybe
before,
it's just an introduction conversation, so you guys know what we're working with, and
it
then,
was the year before the fish incident.
yeah. And so we just need to put it on the radar, and everybody needs to be aware that we're gonna have to clean them, and, you know. So.
So what I'm just thinking about, I mean, option number 1 is obviously possibly raising the sewer rates. Is there any other options at this time, or are we still invested in
well, she said there could be grants.
grants?
I mean, we can look for grants.
But if you haven't raised it, it's that long of a time, it's due.
It's been a long time. And like I said, we just got into this
Yeah,
last week. His name was last
I don't know,
week.
I sent it a while ago, and I said, can you send it in something we can read?
Yeah, it was in some format.
So, but,
It was in engineer format.
but there, we do have a capital outlay plan for the sewer, and these numbers have been in there. They're
right.
just not, they weren't this big.
No, yeah.
So as we talk about whether we need to clean them or not, then, you know, they got some more up-to-date numbers, and I think the numbers are probably high.
Yeah.
But, because they don't want to give you numbers that are too low, and then you go get into the project, you can't do it, but we don't know.
Right, okay.
As long as we got power, let's skip down to number 5, which is this GLS proposal.
So when we did the SAW grant, how many years ago? 6, 7,
6, 7
7 years
years
ago,
ago,
we got the SAW grant, we had $750,000 to televise our system, and we have like, I mean, all of our taps are like listed, all of our stuff is in there on a computer. Well, it's really hard to access it, and it's a huge file. We can't even keep it on our server. It's just on the computer. And then C2AE has some of it, but like when we add on to the system or we make changes, we don't have the expertise to update the computer program. And so the mapping needs updated and changed, and so C2AE does that for us. But the guys, you know, they gotta come in here and look it up. We gotta try to print something. We have videos, there's all kinds of things, but we want to go to a cloud storage. where like Dave, the guys could access it on their
Right, when
phone.
we're out there in the field, we can pull it up and watch that video while we're standing there.
Right.
And so this is a price to update those things. And I mean, there were a couple of things we were looking at. The road soft data,
Yeah.
so that was roads.
A lot of SOM.
Yep. And then the cemetery data, we just were looking at a price for it. But we're also getting a price from the cemetery people on that one. So we're really just looking at the GIS data and the database updates. And then I think you do want the road data.
Yeah, we want to know data.
And then on the back is just the cloud storage. So those are the items. I think it's number 4 and 5. I think those are just for the cemetery, or is this, what is this one? Interface and dashboards. Oh, that would be where they set it up so that we could pull up certain things that like if you got your tap-ins out there or
Right,
certain videos.
which I don't think that one's necessary. I mean, if it's a tab, and then connect it look on the computer, but the other ones just would be handy to be able to pull it out while I'm in the field and not
Come back here.
come back here. and-
Oh. So, I mean, it's kind of like a heads up to a conversation that's probably gonna come up at city council and, you know, we've been working on it for a while, getting those numbers to be able to, just be able to access that data, and we use it a lot in the office too, when people come in and they wanna know what their lot lines are or whatever.
Right.
We don't pull out the paper map as much as we used to, but those. Unfortunately, that stuff's just gonna get outdated if we don't get it on the cloud and have the ability to let C2A update it for us.
This can be budgeted into the next year's stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
or we already did have some money in sewer for
Yeah.
some of this stuff, so. But they were gonna put together a quote for me with the things that we talked about removing. Right?
yes.
The cemetery data, that's like $4,000. Is that something that you feel all these things are something that we need and kind of,
Yep.
okay.
Anything that would benefit that cemetery is definitely needed. And the other thing we had was the generators. I don't know.
So the generators will be on the city council agenda too. We're looking to be able to go out to bid for those generators. We want to update the main generator. We want to put one at Woodbury Road for that lift station. Because that was considered, when we did the SAW data, they like listed things that were critical, and if that station went down, it would be critical to businesses in the school and things down that way. So, because if we have a power outage, it doesn't run.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And we did have a meeting with Pat Lennon and C2A and then last week.
Because one of the things we were trying to do is be able to help the fire departments, because they don't have a generator either. So we thought as long as we're putting a generator out there, we would just light up the fire department while we were there. Well, it turns out that's not that simple, because the fire department is a certain phase and we're another phase, and
We're 3-phase, they're single. phase.
and what's most important is that we can plug and play our generators. So if something has a problem, we could move the generator from one place to the other. I mean, they're not really, but we want them to be the same. So if a guy goes to one generator, so
The same thing.
we don't want to specialize that generator. We just wanted to be able to help the fire department. And so we're not sure we're going to be able to do that at this point.
But in the meantime, we wanted to be able to get authorization to move forward with at least the 2 months of moving.
And they're a year out.
Oh,
Yeah,
At
a
least.
minimum of 52 weeks.
So where's the cost of that?
That we don't have them yet.
Okay.
Adam's gonna have that stuff, but it's over $50,000 a generator. Was that right?
Yep, that was right. Right on. I mean,
A lot of sticker shops.
I know.
We're all about sticker shock. And the other thing we had on the list, and you were involved with it, was the development grant for the DNR, the Looking Glass, boat launch, recreation park, whatever you want to call it. It's up to discussion what you guys want to do. I'm not gonna speak for Paula, but personally, I think we've got the ability to apply for them 2 grants. We've got a ton of time and money into this, and I think now is not the time to stop. I think we should reapply and see where we
But you
go.
weren't speaking. Who's we?
Go ahead.
Who's we?
I'm not speaking for Paula, but we. Me and the mouse in my pocket.
I mean, I feel like that it's silly not to reapply if that, I mean, I think that, although I think that, the site itself may be, an additional burden to the DPW. And the police department and, some people in the neighborhood aren't favorable of it. I think that the majority of your public is gonna be ecstatic to have access to the river. I mean, and that's what we're here for, right? So we have to weigh some of those things, but I do think that we just need to determine whether city council wants us to reapply or not.
I want to put my 2 cents because I wasn't, so we had, the city council had set aside $100,000 for this $300,000 project. And we've went a lot of effort and money into this for a long period of time. But she's gonna have to reapply by April, and they're suggesting that we probably will get some extra points when they go back through here, but to apply for this other grant, and this other grant, it has to be a 50-50 match, so we'll have to put in more money. Just, that was my understanding.
Yes.
And so that is something also to think about, I guess. But they did say that they thought that when he looked through it, because we have a new person, he thought we actually should have scored higher than when it came through. But they just want you to know what we're talking about, putting another $50,000 towards this project too. So I think we should look at all of our options as far as that goes. But this
I
is
do
definitely
plan
a
to
good
put that
one.
on city council agenda to talk about.
Yeah.
Because, that one, we have a time issue, we have a
Yep,
time
April.
crunch,
Mhm.
so.
It has to be. And that means we're gonna have to come in another $50,000 to go forward. So.
Is it possible to go out and look at this site? I've never seen it. So.
Yeah,
I recommend that we should do that, and
anybody wants to see one.
Gail and I had mentioned to you, maybe like a orientation thing and show you guys like the fire hall, things that not everybody has seen,
I know.
you
I like
know?
that idea.
I
actually.
know, my dad asked me if we went snow plowing with you guys yet. I said, what the heck do I need to be snow plowing? Because I guess he did when he was on city council. I was like, I
Well, you
snowplow.
should have said something. I've
I-
been driving and.
I'm good. I don't.
Because then you can see what people are complaining about.
No, I know. I plow many routes. So, yeah, just going out to the site, because somebody else might have some crazy idea that nobody's thought of yet. It's just a thought. How do we please the neighbors and get it going? Because I think it'd be great to have.
You mean the riverside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could set up something as a group, or you just call me individually whenever you want to go out there and we're out there and look at it.
Right now, there's not much to see out there.
A lot
I
of
mean,
white stuff.
A lot of white
Yeah.
stuff and trees.
it's just, it's like, it's a lot, with trees and
Maybe
right
in
by
the
the
spring.
bridge.
Yeah, maybe in the spring or something.
Don't tell me when you were a teenager, you didn't go out there.
Anyway,
Not to that side.
I harassed the town. He's like,
Mark did, I know he did.
Never been there.
Yeah, he's been there. He's lying because he's looking down. He actually looked like he might be honest over here that he didn't go out there.
oh, there you go.
The other thing I have is I do have perfect cleaning scheduled for the 4th for here in the library.
Okay. And I was seeing if I just told them.
Yeah, yeah. And other than that, the other paperwork I gave you was just so you guys had an idea of what we've got equipment wise and you've seen it already what the dates are for replacements and I think like right now the wood chipper's on there, but I think we're gonna switch that around. The wood chipper's fine. And we got one of our pickups that's having some rust out issues, so we may have to put them around and get one that's got a little bit more solid framework underneath it.
And you're working on your budget, obviously. Lots to do.
Stay busy. And if I think I don't have anything, I'll correct me. But other than that, that's all I had. But you guys got something.
How's our leaf sucker?
Right now, it's running great. It's in shop.
Great
Our
night
shop.
part.
As long as we don't start it, it runs great.
Awesome.
But what we did find is that it's out of warranty now, so if it breaks down, we don't have to take it to that place.
Do you get those phone calls like you do for cars, extended warranty?
Not for that.
Right, anything else for anybody? No? Are we good?
You're good.
Okay, next,
Make a motion
Please.
to adjourn.
okay,
I'll second.
all right, approved. Anybody want to not adjourn? No, okay, we're good. Thank you, guys.